morning, good evening, everyone. This is Luda Kopkina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News, where we rate the news essential, important, and or optional. Please follow along. The articles are at gaiinsights.com/articles. And please let us know what you think and whether you agree or disagree with our ratings. I have a full house today. I have Adam, John, Ankash, Paul, and our wonderful guest, Lucinda Lindy, who is a principal data scientist at Ironside. Lucinda, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here as always.
Okay, let's start with the first article. Ankash.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Yeah. So the first one that we have for today comes from the White House, and it is titled "What Enterprises Should Know About the White House New Manhattan Project, the Genesis Mission."
Yeah, potentially a very impactful initiative. What did you think about these announcements, John?
Yeah, I thought this was optional for our AI leader. I think they're talking about hooking up all the different national labs to try to move toward actual unleashing of more of the federal data sets, for example, that are available, because some of them are embargoed because of either national security or privacy or strategic issues, and but they haven't laid it out. The old saying that we're gonna have a meeting about the meeting. This to me strikes me as not real policy, but is simply a statement of general intent. There's no budget attached to it, and some of the more realpolitik views are that what this is a bailout bill for. It's the beginning of a bailout for folks like OpenAI who don't have the balance sheet to keep investing at the levels they're investing in, and that it'll be more nationalized. I'm sure there'll be political movement for that, because the Silicon Valley spends more than any other industry on the Hill, and so I think that their influence continues to be huge. But this to me is optional for our AI leader. It's a plan, as was famously said, a plan about a plan. So
it's a plan about a plan with a lot of very powerful companies, private sector, and software giants involved.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about this whole approach is this isn't where greatness came from, right? The Manhattan Project had a very specific outcome, and if you actually look at the money they spent in the Manhattan Project, there's a bunch of stuff that they had to do at a particular scale so they could get enough plutonium to build the bomb, right? That's not true of AI. They'd be better off. A bunch of the stuff that Elon Musk killed should be, brought back to life and reinvigorated. Cancer research, things like that. That with small amounts. Where the internet came from was brilliant bureaucrats giving small amounts of money to groups of geniuses. The DARPA Desert Challenge, I think, was only $5 million. And that birthed the self-driving car. So this whole approach, I think, is wrong-headed. But anyway, this is optional.
Yeah, and it's a grandiose announcement of a plan with lots of people, and how are they going to manage it is not clear. Also, not only the budget, but the management side of it is not clear either.
Yeah, I think it's simply political theater to say, look at all the fantastic investment in jobs in America and all that.
So, Luda, I move to call this optional. Go to the next article.
Well, it's worth a discussion, because this is worthy of the discussion in the hallway, right? This is happening. So, okay, we're going optional.
Can I just add one last thing? They chose Genesis mission. For those of you who are Star Trek fans, the Genesis mission was a horrible failure in Star Trek. So there you go.
Yeah, this is really not.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the fewer of the one. But I'm gonna challenge for essential. I was optional in the pregame, but I do not want to be an AI leader who didn't hear about this.
Exactly.
And finds about it from someone. You can think it's the worst idea in the world and it's not going anywhere, but have that opinion and don't get caught on the back foot not having heard about it.
Yeah,
this is essential. It is too big not to make essential.
No.
In spite of everything you said, John, I was 100% on board, optional beforehand. Then I was like, oh man,
Yeah,
If
well,
someone didn't
the
hear
discussion
about this, it would be tragic.
discussion at the cooler, right? Okay, Lucinda, you
Fair
get
enough.
no,
Yeah, I'm going
Ankash.
to split the baby. I'm going to say important. I mean, I definitely agree with everything that John said. Is like, okay, this is just a there's no budget attached. It's a bunch of thoughts, etc. However, if you're reading the tea leaves and you're thinking about what you might do proactively about this at least is some indication of how this is being thought about, and that it needs to be actually considered. I think the point about like you should know this, what this article says, is a great point. So I'll just I'll split the baby.
Okay, Ankash, you get the last word.
I'm with Adam on this one, Luda. I think this is an essential news for AI needed to know. I agree with all the reasons that John mentioned, that why this is not important for an AI leader, but just to have that conversation, just to have that opinion, I think they need to know about this.
Yeah, we're going essential, guys. Sorry. Essential it is. Let's proceed.
Just one quick footnote. I mean, I think let's be really clear. The other thing that's going on here, Elon Musk got billions and billions for his venture-backed startup for Statement and made it really big. And that's the same thing. That's the Valley sees a whole nother source of investment amplification through government contracts. And it's
Yes.
I mean, they're seeing it and they're exploiting it. So, good for them.
Good for them. But Paul, this can be really quite an initiative, especially in science, if they unlock and focus vertically.
It's zero impact for any next 18 months for any AI leader.
Yeah, but the hallway conversation. You remember Karl Marx did note that that late stage capitalism, the oligarchs eat the government functions. So there you go.
Okay, essential it is. Let's proceed.
Okay, the next one comes from Anthropic, and they are estimating AI productivity gains from Claude conversations.
Yeah, Anthropic keeps pushing their data analysis and bringing insights out into the public. So what did you think about this, Lucinda?
Oh, I thought this was a really interesting article. I do think I'm kind of like on important, verging on essential. And so the thing that's cool about it is there was a study that sampled 100,000 real conversations of users from Claude AI. And it found that tasks might take 90 minutes without AI, but they could be completed 80% faster with Claude. So it's really interesting to look at, okay, where does it make a difference? Where does it not make a difference? Because the gains are uneven across different types of complexity, et cetera. But what it does mean for the enterprise leader is this gives you a quantified benchmark that's pretty transparent. It identifies high impact domains. And so I do think that there's a lot to learn from this. And also just was good research. So anyway, so I'll go with important for right now.
Okay, important to essential from Lucinda. What did you think, Adam?
Yeah, I was important on this one. I was having conversations this week just about how challenging it is to measure these productivity gains, and how much we fall back on that in terms of the importance of generative AI in business. So to see some numbers, and from Anthropic, no surprise, to back that up, I think is worth at least highlighting. It didn't offer too much deeper than that or too much more, but certainly worthwhile.
Okay. John.
Yeah, I had this as absolutely essential. This is one of the best empirical pieces of work, and it's got lovely, modest claims, the way, they go at it. But I mean, they're looking at 500,000, individuals and anonymized. If I was in conversation with Gary Marcus, I would say, okay, Gary, what about this data? I think this is fantastic work that Anthropic is doing, looking at I think it's brilliant the way they've taken and anonymized their users so we can actually see use, their willingness to share it and to share the underlying data. And for an AI leader, I think you can be solid that, look, at the aggregate level, this stuff is making we're going to have more revenue per employee, right? This is making us more productive. And this is not a teeny sample, it's a massive sample. And, I think a thoughtful AI leader can take the same caveats about, okay, does it individual level doesn't necessarily go to system level, and there's heterogeneity in the work and all kinds of stuff. But, in the main, this is an unbelievable productivity story. So essential for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, John. Ankash, where were you?
I was also essential on this, Luda.
Okay, Paul.
I'll stir it up. I'm 1,000% optional. 1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, just this week, John and I are working with a CFO, a publicly traded company who has a board meeting December 3rd. Yesterday, I had a call with a really large financial institution, the director of AI. Both of them need examples of how to help their other board members and executives understand the potential in their organization of AI. The last thing I would not recommend this at all, because this doesn't move emotionally these executives. What these executives need is understand use cases that they understand in their company, the before and after, just 3 or 4 that are really obvious and no brainer where people sense the truth to get that. Showing them more data, I don't think so. That's one. The second thing is, I think Zapier might be the only company out there that I know of that's using Claude for employee chatbots. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this data is coming from. It's a whole bunch of, shadow IT and a whole bunch of coders. And third, I don't know any executives that really, anyway, I don't think this is, I think it's very interesting from an academic standpoint. I think it's very interesting from an industry analysis standpoint, but doesn't help the leaders.
It's funny,
Okay,
Paul.
John and Rebuttal, you were in the same meetings. Go ahead.
Yeah, John.
I'm thinking about, we have this meeting at 1 Central, I'm thinking about the first bullet point from their findings I'm going to repeat to our client, which is, hey, by the way, this is incredibly extensive study of over 100,000 people from different walks of life and who are using AI, and it's reducing task completion time by 80%. Are you kidding me? That's incredibly relevant to our client.
Yeah. So, Paul, I'm with John. It's incredibly relevant. It's a very well researched and articulated study. Yeah, you might say it's invisible Claude usage, but it's actually the second or maybe the first out there. The data and analysis differ, but they are neck and neck with OpenAI. So it is a well done study showing productivity gains and attaching these type of productivity gains to revenue. So it's all right, guys. Essential it is. I'm sorry, Paul. 1,000% optional overruled.
What do I do with this, Luda? Why is it so important?
It's a knowledge. I can go important.
It's evidence on why should I have an AI budget? Look, I'm telling you, there's a massive company that's done hundreds of thousands of people. It's an 80% increase in productivity. Are you kidding me? That's
like
1.8% increase.
Yeah, 80% at task level, and then you do all the caveats. You say we won't capture all that. Say we capture 10%. We got to go do it.
All right. Since there's such a big, two opposing forces, we'll cut it in half. This one we cut in half. Important. Let's proceed. Cheers today. Very much.
We've got our fight on.
Check it out, Luda.
All right. I vacillated. Okay. Next one.
Okay, the next one comes from Microsoft Research, and they have launched FARA 7 billion parameter model, which is an efficient agentic model for computer use.
Yes, Adam, this is an interesting effort here. What do you think?
Yeah, Ankash, if you can scroll down to the graph there that shows the accuracy versus the cost trade-off. It's a little further down. This is probably optional news, but potentially important. Our AI leader may want to be aware. So FARA 7B, which 7 billion parameters, is quite a small model. You can see it in the purple on the far left there. So across the bottom is the cost per task. And you can see even as the accuracy across the 3 different models is going almost vertical, the cost per task compared to everything else out there in terms of computer use is just, there is no comparison. It is so much cheaper to run. And more importantly, you can run this on the current NPU like Copilot Plus PCs locally on the device for computer use. So any of the devices that currently have 40 TOPS, which is they can run 40 trillion operations per second or more, which is like the latest Snapdragons and the other sort of Gen 7 Copilot Plus PCs, you'll be able to just run computer use locally on your machine, which is pretty amazing, but there isn't a lot to do with it yet. So it's almost research. It's a breakthrough in many ways, but I probably go optional at this point. But the important case would be made for the AI leader needs to think about the inference at the edge and at the endpoint device coming a lot faster than they might be realizing.
Hey, Adam, I had a quick question for you. Do you know how hard, let's say I've got something developed on the NVIDIA stack in one of the small, you know, I'm in CUDA and one of the smaller models and stuff. How hard is it to port over to the IBM architecture?
I think it's very hard. I mean, the CUDA is so core. That's precisely why NVIDIA has a lock on so much in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's vertically integrated, John. So the port would be essentially building another one.
There's 2 MIT startups that they're funded just to try and make that easier, John, because it's such a huge problem and it's not clear that it'll be successful.
Yeah. I mean, I think 26 is going to be the year of the end of the year of mobile and the end of the end of the network devices. And this is phenomenal work, and IBM's doing a ton of it as well with the grant models. Right?
Well, let's remember Snapdragon has almost every handheld device in the world. Right.
But we haven't seen it implemented, right, in real enterprise environments yet. So all of that will come to a head probably next year. But optional, Lucinda, what were your thoughts here?
No, pretty similar. Optional. It's experimental. Hasn't done anything yet in terms of it's not production ready for any sort of mission critical application. It does seem pretty amazing. I mean, it might be worth checking out and trying to experiment it with a little bit and find out, okay, how easy it is to use this CUA interface. Is it something that takes a lot of infrastructure that you have to build out or development that you have to do? But yeah, really interesting. The fact that it's got a computer use agent that's typically only with large language models is very interesting.
Yeah,
so,
it's a lot of innovation here, so for sure. But they admit at the end that they're still early and researchy and whatnot.
Early optional.
Okay. Yeah, very optional. Okay,
I put it as important because, I mean, anytime somebody's doing, I mean, you look at that graph. I mean, the economics of that graph, average cost per task, versus accuracy, that's unbelievable.
But John, you can't really implement it yet.
I know. Well, that's why it's important, not essential.
Oh, it's not essential, and we're going optional for now.
I know. I'm making the case for important.
Yeah. Okay.
Important is if
look at that comment from Ashish. If you want to bring that back up, the current issue with CUA is the cost and the latency, and this is going right at both of those problems.
Yeah, so it's not yet there. Ankash, agree with the optional?
Yes, Luda, optional for slightly different reasons. So this is based on Quinn set of models. And why would you use a Microsoft model if you can use the computer agent from Quinn? So that was my point.
Okay,
so
optional it is. It's a war, and it's like, this is great innovation, but not there yet. Okay, optional it is. We need to pick up the pace, guys.
It's just the one that I do want to highlight. Kudos for them doing cost per task. We're getting away from cost per token. So kudos for them on that front.
That's true. That's a good point, Paul. Okay. Proceeding to the next one.
The next one comes from HBR, and it is titled How Behavioral Science Can Improve the Return on AI Investments.
Okay. John, I hope this will be quick.
It will be. Optional. Rediscovery of the obvious in the context of AI. So optional.
Yeah, I thought John will have a great quote on this one. Okay, Lucinda, agree?
Yep, I agree. If you want to move it along, but obviously this remains a huge issue, right? The whole adoption, the trust, etc., and really not thinking about techno solutionism, but rather just how does it? It's like squirting oil into your various gears and then deciding which gears you have to replace. So it's
Yeah, we'll come to another one right today that actually, contradicts this. Because the premise here is saw very mightily, despite maybe non-trust issues. So that's my optional plea here.
Yeah, I mean, here's the four major conclusions: acknowledge their own biases, train themselves in behavioral change, measure what matters, and stay agile and adaptive. I mean, please. Anyway, sorry.
Okay. Yes, Ankash.
This is often
Adam?
all pretty obvious stuff that's been around in terms of psychology for a long time, but organizational change management, we actually have that as part of our adoption playbook. It's happening well before you even start piloting something like M365 Copilot. Like, this has to be so out front as a priority in terms of getting your organization going. OCM is such an essential part, but this doesn't add much to the conversation.
Paul, we're going optional, okay?
Yes.
Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one.
The next one comes from Bain & Company, and they have done a survey, and it is titled AI Moves from Pilots to Production.
Yeah, this is real data, and this says it seems like we're moving. Lucinda, what did you think?
Yeah, so I thought this was important, possibly essential. That really, it's really saying like, hey, we're going from the experimental to more of a strategic priority. That people are scaling, they're going into production. They're really, more of the tokens are going into like inference, etc. And that AI initiatives are meeting or exceeding expectations, but yet, as with so many of these things, business impact is harder to measure. And commitment is growing, but also concern. So, what can an AI leader do about this? It's really thinking about AI more as a strategic business transformation, as opposed to like thinking about it as tactical tools, and to actually really put a lot of thought into measuring the business outcomes. So looking at the risks, because there are risks, like where do you want to apply AI with this sort of risk profile to the different applications, different workflows that you're dealing with. So I'm going to give it an important.
Okay. Paul, what did you think? Forwardability of this article is quite good.
Luda, I didn't read this, so I don't want to give an opinion. So
Okay.
you can my vote.
Okay.
Essential.
John.
Good data on important stuff helps punch through the baloney that came out of MIT about the 5% garbage.
Yeah.
I'm with John Luda, essential read.
I thought it was important. I'd give it a Tim, maybe upper back pocket important. It's a good one to have to be able to pull out, but it doesn't give them any practical guidance to an AI leader about how to actually do these things themselves. So it's good data, but not enough to really be an essential read in my book.
But remember, one of the functions of AI leaders is convincing others. And in order to convince others, they need well-researched data showing across industries, showing advancements, showing impact, and that is giving it in a what is it, 3-4 pages? So it's very.
And Luda, in my mind, still, I hold important being read it on the weekend when you have time, versus you don't want to go into the office tomorrow not being aware of this. So important articles are things to get across and be aware of, and then you can decide how much you actually lean into that and the value of it. But an essential read is like, don't go to bed tonight if you don't know about this.
That's interesting. John, what do you think to Adam's point? Should we go important versus essential?
Yeah, I'd be okay with important, given that definition, sure.
Just my definition.
Okay. Very good to sometimes remember the definitions we put in place, right? Okay, so important it is. Let's proceed to the last one.
Okay, the last one comes from Exa AI, and they have introduced Exa 2.1.
Yeah, this is, we haven't really talked about independent web search engines that are really building up into a wave here. Adam, what did you think about this one?
I was going to come out and say optional, and even as you mentioned that we haven't really talked about it, to see it and notice that right up there with Perplexity and Brave is this third entrant in the market might be important enough to elevate and make people aware of. So the stats are basically, when it comes to how fast this thing can search, it's right up there with Perplexity and Brave. When you look at its ability to have accuracy doing agentic searches, again, it's right up there with sort of the state of the art. So I'll bring that to bear. Important for that reason, but otherwise I felt it was optional because it's a little too down in the weeds of what's actually being built.
Yeah, so there are players coming up. So there are two graphs at the top, right? One is the human search, if you will. Then that's Perplexity, that's Brave. They've got as well that is focused on how AI agents will actually see the information out there. And there are startups that are actually almost not startups, Parallel and Link Up, that are growing very fast, that are focused on that specifically. And so this company is going at both and actually doing very good in performance, as you can see from the graphs. So what did you think about this, John?
Yeah, optional for me.
Lucinda?
Yep, optional. I mean, if you think about like just what does you've got Claude 4.5 Opus, you've got OpenAI ChatGPT 5.1. I mean, they're just and other aspects. And I know this is agentic search, right, which is a different category, but still, you still have Perplexity there. There's just so much to keep track of, and this is a kind of new player. I mean, it's like good to know it, like, okay, it's there, but until there's like some big impact, it's just how many little morsels can the AI leader have?
That's a good point. Okay, Anka.
Optional article would have been an important topic. I think we will see a whole lot of more players in the next 6 months or so, given the AEO piece as well and how agents need to talk to agents. So still an optional article, but an important area.
Yeah, I think B2C, this will become essential as we proceed. All right, we're going optional, Paul?
Yes, optional.
Optional. Okay, so as Ankash prepares the scorecard, let's do the announcements. Paul?
Yeah, two announcements. We will not have news in the next 2 days here in the States, Thursday and Friday, or U.S. Thanksgiving, and we're going to take off news for both days. On Monday at Learning Lab, we have a great case study. Ian's going to be talking about a custom GPT built, and it's in production and all his lessons learned. We continue to see this fabulous ROI for custom GPTs within the OpenAI ChatGPT universe.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So anything else, John, Lucinda?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, okay, so we have today 1 essential, 2 importance, and 3 optionals. I just want to thank everyone, and I love the fact that we disagree and we debate, and people like Valda sides with the optional, and rule that we have that board with participation from people out there with Ashish and Ram and many others. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thanksgiving is coming for US folks. Enjoy the long weekend, and we will see you on Monday. Thank you all. Have a great
Thank you, Lucinda.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank